recipe on. So I've got that pulled up on my Thermomix screen. Sorry, I'm not at the start of the recipe, so I'm just going to go into recipe detail and just start at step 1. All right, so we're going to add in 180 grams of plain flour. So this is the pastry element. This is a short crust pastry. So 180 grams of flour and 90 grams of unsalted butter that's been chilled. The lid's going to go on, and then we're just going to mix that for 6 seconds on speed 8. This is one of my favourite things about the Thermomix. I do remember being in high school home ec, and we made scones and we had to rub the butter into the flour, and it took forever. But the Thermomix here does it for us. So that's the butter being rubbed into the flour. Our next step is 30 grams of chilled water. And then it's just an egg yolk. Oh, actually, did I miss that step? I did, an egg yolk as well. So not all short crust pastries have egg yolks. I find it just helps bind the pastry a little bit better. Just going to go on. That's just 10 seconds. All right, and that's it for the pastry. So here I've got my Thermomat. I'm just going to lightly flour it, just so that the pastry doesn't stick when I'm rolling it out later on. And I'm just going to tip this upside down onto my Thermomat. So for those of you that don't have a Thermomat, they're amazing. So if you've done a lot of bread making or pastry work, definitely have to get some of these. Okay, so that's it. That's the pastry. It's nice and soft. I'm just going to wrap it in my mat, and it's going to go in the fridge for 20 minutes. I have, however, pre-made one, so I can show you straight away how to roll it out. And I just want to show you something cool on the TM6. Just going to go across. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it has video instructions on here on how to roll out the pastry. Now, I'm not going to play it for you, but if you have a TM6 at home, definitely jump on and have a watch. And then it shows you how to line the pie dish as well. So that's pretty cool. Now, just before I roll it out, I am just going to get a clean bowl. I will also later on use my pre-clean dough mode on the TM6 to get that clean. So I'll just switch out bowls, and I'm just going to get the filling started. So it's just 20 grams of olive oil.
Yep.
And then we've got 300 grams of leeks. So these are just sliced leeks. This is about 2 medium leeks. You could also chop them in the Thermomix if you didn't want perfect circles as well. So this one, it's asking us for our splash guard. So this is our splash guard. It's our little safety, I guess it's a safety feature of the Thermomix. So we are going to use high heat mode, which is only accessible through Cookie Dough on the TM6. We'll reach up to 160 degrees. So this little thing just covers our lid. It allows steam to escape, but prevents any oil spills. So we're set for 10 minutes and just a high heat mode. If you have a TM5, you can, I think it's just in the recipe, it says it's 15 minutes at 120 degrees reverse speed 1. Okay, so we're just going to go to my pre-made pastry that has been refrigerated that I did earlier. I'm just going to get a sheet of baking paper. And this just prevents the pastry from sticking to my rolling pin. So I'm very, very good at rolling out pastry, but I don't really need to be. The new Thermomix actually have measurements, like circle measurements, which does make it a little bit easier. And I don't know if you can start to hear the Thermomix. It's starting to heat up and it's starting to sizzle. So I'm just going to get this sort of as flat as I can. So it's really not much fun watching me roll out pastry. Has anyone here made pastry at home before? If you haven't, I'm hoping I'm inspiring you to give it a go. As you saw, there's only 4 ingredients in this short crust pastry. If you look at the short pastry, I actually had a look online yesterday because I was interested, and there's so many preservatives. They've even got colours in it as well. So not very good for our health.
Hey, Kate, I was just saying, I love how that rolling pin, it doesn't squash the edges too thin.
It doesn't what, sorry?
The edges don't get squashed too thin because of the way that it's designed.
Yeah, it's really cool. What's it, a French rolling pin, is that right?
Yes.
So this is obviously on the mix shop as well. I haven't done a very good job at all in rolling this out. That's okay, because you can like patch it up, which is what I'm really good at doing. So I'm going to try, it's really delicate, this particular recipe. Just going to try to roll it over my rolling pin into my plate. So here's where I'm just going to patch up the little holes that I've got. All right. And what we're going to do next is we're going to blind bake the pastry. So to blind bake it, I'm just going to get the same sheet of baking paper. And I actually use rice. For those of you that have baking beans or pie weights, great, but I just use rice. I've been using this same rice for, I don't even know how many years. I just put it in a container after I've done my blind baking, and it goes in the cupboard, and I just reuse it. So very cheap way. Okay, so that rice just goes in. We bake it at 160 degrees for about 20 minutes. And that just cooks the pastry before we put the pie filling in. If we don't cook it first, the pastry is going to go really soggy once we put the ingredients in. And I have pre-made one earlier. I've done a lot of pastry baking today. So this is the one that I did earlier. So yeah, once this finishes, will come back to me and I'll show you how to assemble it. So I don't know who's going next. Elna?
Hi everyone, I'm going to show you how to make Cape Malay curry. It's quite a popular dish in South Africa too, and it's got lots of flavors happening. Now I've done the dry roasting of my spices already and blitzed it up. So I don't know if you can see, it's quite fine that you can do that. So it's basically just coriander, cumin, cardamom, and cloves that you dry roast in your Thermomix at 120 degrees for about 5 minutes. That releases all that lovely flavor and aroma. And then you blitz it up for 1 minute in your Thermomix and then do the rest. All right. So the next step that we're going to do, and I'm doing this recipe manually, that you can see how easy it is to do your own recipes if you wanted to do that and get that done. So I'm going to pretend this is what's just done, that we can do that. And the next step is basically just adding your garlic, onions quartered in there. And then we're going to add all our spices in there. So that includes a ginger, ground turmeric, cinnamon, that's going to be chili powder, a little bit of black pepper that you can do. Just pop that in there. And then we're going to just give that a quick chop. About 5 seconds on speed 5. Done. I love the Thermomix. It minimizes the chopping and the time that you chop in there, that you can get going. All right. So what you've got here is the chopped up garlic and onion and all the spices that's incorporated in there. So I'm just going to add 50 grams of olive oil in there. And then we're going to saute that for 5 minutes to release all that beautiful flavors. And then we're going to set it aside. And I'm going to show you how you can use the blade cover to cook your curry with. So 5 minutes on 120, and remember to put it on reverse. And when you remember, if you want to do manually, where your speed is, just press on the little blade there, and then you will turn it back to reverse. So we're just going to do that for 5 minutes. Over back to Jodie.
Hi everyone, Jodie Blake here. I'm a team leader in Canberra. I am making out of this cookbook, they are called Edna's lemon curd tea cakes. And we've made these a few times. I'm actually going to double the recipe because it makes 6 tea cakes, and they have to be hidden in this house. Otherwise they disappear in the middle of the night and you go to get one and they're gone. So I'm doing double the recipe. And the first thing I'm going to do is to make the lemon curd. If anybody's made lemon curd before, it's always recommended to make extra so that you can eat it from a spoon because it's delicious, and you want to be able to have some left over. So this recipe actually isn't on Cookie Do yet. It's a manual recipe. So if you want it, you need to get the cookbook. And so what it needs is lemon juice. So my recommendation when you are juicing lemons is to peel them first. So you have the zest of the lemon, and then you can put it into the freezer. So then if you ever need lemon zest, you've already got some in the freezer. So you're not wasting the lemon. Peel it first before you juice it, because otherwise they're harder to peel after you've already juiced them. So I've got 60 grams. Well, I'm going to tell you what I've got, 120 because I'm doubling, of lemon juice, 120 of unsalted butter. Now, if you were watching me on Instagram a little bit earlier today, you'll see that I just made my own butter. I've got 2 eggs, and I have 200 grams of sugar. So it says in the recipe to use white, but I only have raw sugar, and that's fine as well. So if you want to use raw sugar in replacement, then that's great. And then we just want a pinch of salt. Okay, and I'm going to cook that now for 5 minutes on 100 degrees on speed 4. I'm going to increase the time just a little bit, Claire, to 6 minutes because I've doubled the recipe. So if you are doubling, you don't necessarily have to double the time. You just need to add a little bit extra. So I've just added an extra minute, and we'll have a look at it. So that I will go quiet now. All right, I'll mute myself.
All right, I think we're coming back to me. Mine has just under a minute left, so I will actually stop it. It won't really make a difference, and I'll show you what these sauteed leeks look like. So I don't know if you can actually see, but they're starting to brown up nicely. All right, so we have one more step before assembling. So we've got 20 grams of brown sugar. Sorry, I thought I'd missed a step. It's easy to miss steps when you're working on the side of your Thermomix. It's not that easy. All right, we're going to add 10 grams of some white vinegar. I've got apple cider. I'm assuming it's going to be the same. Then the lid's just going to go on, and we'll just scrape down. and that's going to just cook for a further 3 minutes with all that delicious sugar. Back to Elmi.
Yes, it's me. Right, so I also got about a minute left, but I'm going to stop that and show you what to do next. Because with this recipe, once you've sauteed that beautiful onion and garlic and spices in there, you need to put it into a little bowl to set it aside for the time being, because we're going to add put our blade cover in there. Right, so I'm just going to put that in a little bowl in order for me to put the blade cover in. Now you will notice that when you make this recipe, there's quite a little bit of burn on at the bottom of the bowl, but that's going to be released when we cook the curry, and that flavors will just be infused into the curry, which makes it yummy. Right, now you can see this is your blade cover. You can see mine is a beautiful green, because I've been making curries with mine to have that in there. So you can see at the bottom here, there's a little space where you can fit it over the top of the blade. So you're just going to pop that in there and pop it in onto the blade like that. Right, so once you've got that in there, you can continue with the recipe, and basically we're going to put all of the stuff back in there that we've just sauteed, pop that back in, and we're going to add some potatoes. They ask you to peel the potatoes, but I'm lazy. I don't like peeling potatoes. So I just keep the skin on there, because that's where all the goodness is. Just wash it quickly and get that done. So pop that in there. And we're going to add a can of diced tomatoes that you can do. And they always suggest that you put a little bit of sugar in there to counter the acidity of the tomato. They ask for white sugar, but I only have raw sugar in my home. So I'm just going to put 2 teaspoons of sugar in there. And that's going to cook for another 25 minutes. And then we will add our chicken, and that will cook for another 35 minutes. And you will have a beautiful, delicious Cape curry.
Thanks, Elman. Kate or Jody, who should I come to? Neither of you? Let's go. Should we go to Sandra? Sandra.
Hi everyone, my name is Sandra and I'm the team leader in Sydney. So thank you all for joining us today. I am making chili mussels with risoni. Now this is a variation to a recipe that's on Cookie Doo already. This particular recipe isn't on Cookie Doo yet, but if you look up chili mussels with thyme, it's it's an identical recipe, but this one we're going to add risoni at the end. So to start off with, we're going to add 150 grams of onion, 2 garlic cloves of chili, as many or as little as you like. I'm adding two little chilies that I got from my garden, and 2 anchovies. So we're just going to pop all of that into the bowl, and we're going to chop that for 5 seconds on speed 7. Okay. Okay, that's done. After a while of having a Thermomix, you can tell by the sound when it's ready, can't you? So I'll show you what that looks like. There we go. So all nicely chopped there. We're going to add 20 grams of olive oil. So just pop on the scales, 20 grams. And we're going to let this saute for 5 minutes on 120 degrees speed 1. And we can come back to me once that's done. So over to the next person.
Okay.
You can next, Sarah, if you like. Oh, you got plate? Go, Kate.
Yeah, is that cool? All right, I hope you guys aren't getting too confused with all this back and forth. It's the easiest way to operate in the virtual world. So here are my leeks. So I'm just going to pop them into another bowl. I always find that when you've got leeks, the little circles of leek get stuck around the blade. It's a bit tricky to get out. All right, so we're just going to add in 200 grams of cream. All right, 3 eggs. Some salt and pepper. And then we're just going to put the lid on and just give that a little mix for 10 seconds. All right, that's done. So we pour half of the egg mixture. Wait for the arms to open. We pour half the egg mixture over the baked tart paste and add the reserved leek mixture. So you can all see. So again, this was the pastry that I blind baked earlier. I'm not a very, I'm quite a messy cook, so I'm trying not to be messy. I reckon this is too much leek for my pan, so I probably won't use it all. Oh, maybe I will.
Sandra said this is a favourite in her home, Kate.
Sorry?
Sandra said this is a favourite in her home.
Really, this dish?
Mm-hmm.
I've never made it. You should have made it, Sandra. I should have made the mussels. I made mussels last night. All right, then we're going to sprinkle some feta. You can tell me if I'm doing it wrong, Sandra. All right, we sprinkle feta. So this is just about 90 grams of Danish feta. I guess you can use any cheese you like. I quite like goat's cheese in like tarts and quiches. All right, then we'll pour the rest of the egg mix. And I reckon I got too much egg mix here too, but that's okay. My kids actually won't eat this, so with the other pastry that I did before, I'm going to make a quiche Lorraine for them to eat. All right, then we'll just top it up with some cherry tomatoes. And we also put on, and I know lots of you guys won't like this, we also put on anchovy fillets. So obviously this is optional because there's a lot of people out there who don't actually like anchovies. I do like them. When I was pregnant with my son, I actually craved anchovies a lot and I used to just eat them out of the jar. Sounds really disgusting, but yeah, I liked it. And the funny thing is now whenever I get the jar of anchovies out, he eats them straight out of the jar too. Okay, so there's my tart. So that's going to go in the oven for 35 minutes. So hopefully by the end of the class we'll be ready and I'll be able to show you what it looks like.
Okay, I've only got 1 minute to go, so I can go next if that's okay. So we've sauteed our onion, garlic, chili, and the anchovies. So that's all nicely sauteed. Yeah, and now we're going to add a can of tomatoes directly into the bowl. We want 100 grams of, I've got the recipe here, 100 grams of white wine. So probably half this little bottle here. There we go. And we're going to add now 250 grams of water. We'll weigh that properly. So 250 grams. Okay. And some stock paste as well. So a tablespoon of stock paste. There we go. And then we're going to cook that for 7 minutes on 100 degrees speed 1. And we'll come back to me. Once that's done, we're going to pop the mussels on and I'll give you some tips around that as well. So over to the next person.
Is that me? All right. So my lemon curd is finished. I've just used my jam funnel to pour it into a jar, and I'm just going to set that aside, and I've changed my bowl over. The great thing about cooking virtually and at home is you can lick the spatula, you can lick the spoon, you don't have to worry about it. I'm just going to pop these aside. And now I'm just going to make the base. So I'm going to pop my scales on, and I want I want some self-raising flour. So I want about 300 grams of self-raising flour. There we go. Oh, way too much. There we go. And then I've got some butter. So we're just putting everything in. So I've got 120 grams of butter. And I have, I wanted lemon thyme, but I could not find any anywhere. So I've just zested some of my lemons so that I was squeezing out before. I just chopped all that up. And then we want some more sugar. So another 200 grams of sugar and 2 eggs. So, all right.
Hey, Jodie.
Yeah.
Kate said this recipe is actually on the recipe community. So
yeah, it is. I'm going to tell a little story about that in a second. So what I'm going to do is blend this up for 30 seconds on speed 5, and I'll get my trays out. So I'll just put that on speed 5. We're turning it into a little crumble, if you can hear me. Probably can't. I don't know. And I'm going to put it into these little silicone muffin trays that I've got. And here we go. Right, I couldn't hear myself over the blending. So we've turned it into like a little crumb, and it just looks like that, a nice dough. And I'm going to spread it out in between each of my little muffin trays. So you can, if you don't have silicone muffin trays like this, you can use like paper cupcakes, paper, what are they called? Anyone want to tell me? I've lost the word. Patty cases. And so what you want to do is put, so you can see, is that good? Can you see? All right. So you want to press these down into the bottom of each muffin case, and you probably want it to be about 1 centimetre thick. Okay. And I'll just do a few because we can come back to me in a minute. But the story about these tea cakes is somebody called Edna created a recipe, who knows how long ago, and put it onto the recipe community. So you can go and find this recipe there. And apparently over like 300,000 people from the recipe community absolutely love this. And so when Thermomix in Australia were creating their book, they went and tried to get in touch with Edna, but they couldn't. So they could tell her how much they love the cakes and they wanted to put it in the book, but they've just taken it, and the original recipe is one big tea cake that you would slice up, and they've made it into these little muffins, so or little individual tea cakes, so which I think is really cool. And that's what I love about this book, is that it tells a story of people that have made recipes and put them on recipe community. And so if you've got a recipe that you're translating, I urge you to put it onto recipe community. And I'm just getting my lemon curd now. Put it on recipe community, because you never know, if it's popular, it might end up in a cookbook. So this is really hot, but I'm just going to pour that in. Claire, can you still see my?
Yep, sure can.
Cool. So I'm just going to pour it in. I'll just do the first 6, and then when you move to the next person, I'll do the other 6 before I put them in the oven. So there's the lemon. And then we want to get more of this crumble, and then just crumble it over the top. So you might think that you're not doing it right. That's what I thought the first time. But you want to cover it, and you'll also think that you've got too much crumble, but there's never too much crumble. Just put it on and cover the lemon curd. and they just go like this. Just want to break it into small little pieces like that and cover your lemon curd. And let's get a little bit more. And that is it. So once they're all covered, then you want to put them in the oven at 170 degrees for about 15 minutes. You want them to brown nicely, and then you need to let them set, because if you try to pull them out, and I know from experience that I got too eager and tried to pull them out and it just kind of all fell apart. So let them cool down in the tray, let them set, learn from Jodie's mistakes, as most people tend to do because I make them a lot. And there you go. That is it. All done. I'm going to put them in the oven and they'll be ready by the end of the class.
Awesome. Thank you, Jodie. So I'm going to show you guys the Torta Caprese. So this is actually an old recipe that has been sort of revamped. We've been doing this one in cooking classes for years and years. And this one is the version with the raspberry jelly topping. So I had to pre-make a couple of things because of the time that it takes. So I pre-made the cake, and it's literally just almonds, chocolate, eggs, sugar, a little bit of baking powder, and I cooked that. And then you have to make a whipped ganache. So it's just the normal chocolate ganache, but you leave it to cool down, add the butterfly, and you whip it so that it spreads thickly. And this is what it looks like, which is very hard to see right there. And I'm a little bit nervous about how my jelly is going to stay on the cake, because the cake sort of came in a little bit at the edges. Anyway, we'll just see how we go. I haven't done the jelly yet before. So I'm going to show you guys that right now. When the ganache is set, you then come into this process, and it takes probably good 2 to 3 hours to get to this point. And most of that is just cooling down. So I've got some lemon juice, and it asks for 10 grams of that. Oh, 10 grams really isn't very much. There you go. 20 grams of caster sugar. I only have raw sugar, but it's going to be dissolved anyway. And some agar-agar. So it's just like a thickening agent. You can get that in health food stores, or you can get it in Asian grocers. So that's going to go in. Looks amazing. Thanks, Naomi. Wait and see what happens after we've put this raspberry stuff on. So I've got raspberries here. You can use frozen or you can use fresh. I've got frozen because that was much easier and cheaper. So they go in. And without the measuring cup, I'm going to cook my jelly. And that one's going to cook for 6 minutes. So you'll be able to come back to me afterwards once that's done. And I think we're going over to Elman now. Is that correct, Elman?
No, to me.
Oh, to Sandra, sorry.
Yeah, I'm ready to go for the next step. So I've got the mussels here in the Varoma. Let me just show you. Now, remember I said this recipe is on Cookie Do, and it's called Chilli Mussels with Thyme. That recipe doesn't have the risoni that we're going to add now. Okay, so we're just going to add that to the sauce that we cooked, and we pop the lid on. Now, if you're doing the Cookie Do version without the risoni, you can also pop mussels in the simmering basket in the bowl, and those mussels will cook with the sauce as well as the mussels in the Varoma. So you're actually able to fit 2 kilos of mussels all up if you use a simmering basket as well. Now, in this case, because we have the risoni, we're not going to add the mussels in the simmering basket. We're just going to pop the mussels on top like that, and that's going to cook for 12 minutes on Varoma speed 1. And I've also got some chopped up coriander. The recipe says parsley. I had coriander. You could chop that coriander first in the Thermomix, And then you don't need to wash the bowl and then proceed with the recipe. To chop it, it's just 3 seconds on speed 7. But this is going to be a really nice garnish for the dish at the end. But I've also popped some in the sauce, just adds a lot of flavor. Now, obviously, if you don't like coriander, you can add parsley instead, and it's just as nice. I find coriander just goes really well with seafood. Being Portuguese, we chuck it all in, and it's going to be delicious. So we'll see after 12 minutes once that's done.
Hi everyone, back to the Cape Malay curry. So at the moment we've basically cooked the tomato sauce and the potatoes in there. So you can chop your potatoes a little bit bigger if you want to. If you want to keep that, it's just cooling down. So what we're going to add now is we're going to add our chicken that you cut up in 4-centimeter pieces that you can have in there. So at the moment, this is what it looks like. Right, so it's beautiful, colorful, and flavorsome. It smells absolutely divine. So I'm just going to add the chicken in there, and I also add a little bit of salt in there too to get that done. And just stir it with your spatula to make sure that all of those beautiful flavors gets to all the chicken. All right, so once that is done, it's going to cook another 35 minutes on 100 degrees reverse. And this time you need to put the simmering basket in there just to make sure that the egg escapes there, that it can reduce the liquid because it's got quite a lot of sauce. And then once that is done, you're ready to eat. You can eat it with either sambals, or you can make some naan bread. You could soak up all that beautiful juice. Or as I'll show you, I've just made some yellow rice, turmeric rice that I make. And I like to put some raisins in there while the rice is cooking, just for flavor. That you can have your chutneys, have that. And this is what the curry looks like when it's done. Right, so it's really quite beautiful, and it's amazingly flavorsome. So a beautiful dinner, and you can put and when you make a lot, you can always freeze that as well and have something to eat later or the next day in lunch. Enjoy making this.
Awesome. Who are we going to? Right, Jody, is yours baking in the oven? What I might do is just, yep, yours is in the oven. And Kate, how's your tart looking?
It's still got like 20 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, my raspberry jelly is nearly ready.
Also remember that when we use the blade cover, I mean, this is one recipe that we can, but that you can utilize, that you can make curries with it. But the blade cover is amazing because you can make meatballs in there. You can put some chicken drumsticks in there. So hop onto the mix shop and get one of those. And I must say, since I've been a consultant now for 13 years, I've learned so much about food, and every day I learn something new. Right. So hope to see you on the other side.
Yeah, and look, guys, I'm going to run a business information session, or, you know, just find out more about becoming a consultant after this. So stick around if you want to find out. And if you're a little bit curious, you know, if you've had a Thermomix for a while and you rave about it to your friends, you know, why not jump in and do this with us? It's lots of fun. All of us are leaders in Thermomix, and we each lead a team of consultants, and it's been an amazing journey. I started 9 years ago in Elman's team, actually, and we live in Canberra. Actually 4 of us live in Canberra. Sandra's the only one who's not in Canberra. She's up in the Campbelltown region. And yeah, we're just all super passionate about what the Thermomix has done for us and our families, and obviously love sharing that with others. And few consultants on here as well, so your consultant might be on today too. So how you guys, who's got the cookbook? You might have to put into the chat because I can't see all of you. Susan, you've got it, or you have been giving us the page numbers. Andrew, and yep, amazing. Fantastic. So guys, the cookbook is available. I think you could get it in Big W for a while, but I have a feeling they sold out very quickly. So, all right. So my next part is I have to strain it. So I'm just going to do that for you guys. I could just just use my, I don't know how, it says through a fine mesh sieve. So maybe I should do a fine mesh sieve, do you reckon? All right. Normally I'm a bit, just do what, you know, put my basket in. I will actually just show you guys that tip. So you can see here, there's my raspberry jelly. It's a bit hard to see. My lighting's not very good. There's nothing worse than raspberry seeds, right? So if you're normally straining in your Thermomix with your basket, you just put the basket in and tip through. So put that in and tip through the straining holes at the front there. You don't use your basket like that. That's how a lot of people think they use their basket until they learn the other way. So let me just get we'll go back to this container. It's quite thick. It's like a jelly syrup. There wasn't much sugar in there. There was only 20 grams of sugar. So it's actually not very sweet. And remember, it's got the lemon juice. It's that little bit of tartness. And in the chat, I said that I didn't quite have enough agar-agar. So I had about a teaspoon of agar-agar, and then I put a teaspoon of gelatin in as well to make up for my half a teaspoon of agar-agar that I didn't have. And let's hope it works. So just run that through. And it says to cool down, but I reckon once for about 5 minutes, so not for long. I reckon once that's through, there's actually not a huge amount of jelly in there. There's a lot of seeds. You guys see all those seeds? Scrape underneath. So it'll add a nice sort of like tartness, quite a sweet cake. I did put a little less sugar than it says to use because it says 250 grams of sugar, but I actually just put in about 150. All right. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't use the basket for that one. That was definitely not going to work. I wouldn't have got anything through. So that's what I'm left with, just a little bit of raspberry pulp. And here's my raspberry jelly. And then it says to cool it for 5 minutes, which cooled enough. And carefully and quickly pour jelly over ganache tin and then refrigerate. So I'm going to pour that over here. All right, spread it out. It's actually probably need to wait for it to cool just a little bit more, but we'll be good. It'll taste good. This is not going to look like the picture. Putting it out there now. All right, I reckon we can do it like that. It's probably easiest actually. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm going to just show you. So there's my jelly, and I'm going to put that in the fridge. And hopefully by the time we're finished, it will have set. Yep. I'm sure it will taste amazing. Yes. Got a lot of. Would anyone do anything with that?
I don't know. I was going to say, I'm surprised you have one of those strainers. So Sandra said to eat it, and don't make this mistake that I did. Make sure you use a spring form tin when you make it, because otherwise you take the cake out and then you try to do all the bits and it all just kind of flops. So make sure you use a spring tin and then take it out at the very end. So another Jody mistake. I should make a page, the mistakes made by Jody that you don't do ever.
Jody, did you find that the cakes like went in at the sides and there was a big gap around it?
Yeah, that's right. And so it's got a bit to do with the baking powder. and different temperatures of your oven and stuff like that as well. So if your oven's too hot, it will sink in the middle and come in on the sides, but it's okay to come in on the sides a little bit though.
Okay, I just found it's definitely not going to look like that because it came in on the sides. So you'll get to see it and it will not look like the picture.
Oh, should I show you a picture of what mine looked like? I love it. Well, I didn't have a springform tin on me. I made it at my friend's house and we just put it in a Tupperware silicone thing to make the cake, and then we took the cake out of the silicone form and finished the recipe, and it was all just this, but it tasted good. Meh.
Well, if you live in Belconnen, you can come and grab a piece in the ACT. Alana, yes, you do. Awesome. You're welcome to come grab some. When I was looking through this book, actually, I've got raspberries like everywhere. Lucky I have an apron. There was actually one that I really did want to highlight to you guys, and it was the chicken stock powder. So this is a powder that you make, and so you cook up the chicken stock using chicken thighs. It's just the chicken stock paste. So if you guys have access to cookie dough, it's the chicken stock paste on cookie dough that actually Kate first introduced me to, and now I always have chicken stock paste in my freezer. So it's the same one, but you dry it out in your oven, or if you've got a dehydrator, you dry it out in a dehydrator, and then you mill it in your Thermomix, and you've got this beautiful stock powder that you can sprinkle on stuff. So it is still high in salt, so it's like a chicken salt stock. Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. And then the other one I saw was a chicken roulade. So you roll out the chicken flat and then you layer it with different, it had cheese and spinach and a couple of other things. You roll it up inside foil and then you set it and you can steam it. So many years ago, we did a cooking class actually, and we made a rolled, what was it, Elman? It was like a rolled steak dish. Do you remember that one? And we steamed it in the Varoma. It was a Danny Ballant, I think.
Yeah, it was with turkey roulade that we did with that. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah. Who else? Anyone else have a favorite recipe from this book?
I'm naughty. I love the spice fruit loaf that's in there. It's amazing. You will never ever buy raisin toast again once you make that. It's delightful. You just have to be patient with it because it needs to prove decently before you bake it. I've baked mine a little bit lower heat than they suggest there. Otherwise, it browns quite a lot on the top. But it is really amazing.
Yeah, I made that one too, and there's a few in the chat saying how amazing that one was. This is the chicken roulade that I was telling you about. So that's what it looks like. So yeah, pretty amazing.
Hey Claire, my dish is ready. Can I show what it looks like? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to pop it into the oval thermo server. So if you don't have one of these beauties yet, get in touch with your consultant because you can get one just for hosting at a heavily discounted. And here are our mussels. Ta-da! And I'm using the lid as a tray so it doesn't spill everywhere. Now, the ones that don't open, you need to discard them. It means that they're not 100%, but they've all opened up really nicely. And I've got 1.5 kilos here. I actually could have fit more. There would have been enough room. And we have the risoni here cooked in the sauce. And what happens is with the mussels, there's a lot of juice inside and that falls into the bowl and just really flavors this sauce. So there's a lot of sauce. Now, I'm going to pour the mussels first onto it, and it's not all going to fit. Have a lot here. And when you pour the sauce, if you don't know this trick yet, this is really good. Get your spatula and pour on the spatula, and that avoids splatter. Now, if you haven't seen these spatulas before, they are so good. You can get them from the mix shop. And there are our mussels, and I'm going to sprinkle a generous amount of coriander. And here you go. Our chili mussels with risoni. How good do they look? And they smell amazing. We can't wait to eat it. We got fresh bread. Make sure you have fresh bread to go with it. That is a must. All right. Thanks, guys.
What have you got happening there, Jody?
I decided to whip some cream to go onto my tea cakes. So both my bowls for my TM6 are dirty. So I just have opened up the TM31 and don't be mad at me, Alison. Baby is hiding in the corner over there and you can't really see her. But so, yeah, I've just whipped up some cream and it just took, I think it was under a minute, and I've got my butterfly in there and that's what I've done. So that will go on my tea cakes. I have to do that because it's in the picture, the whipped cream.
We do have a couple of TM31 owners on today. So good to have you guys with those trusty workhorses that we call them. And if you do have a TM31, you can use cookie dough recipes as well. You just cook them manually, which is how you always cook in your Thermomix. So, you know, get your subscription, $49 a year, and access to all of our recipes and cookbooks. So definitely worth it. All we really need to do now is show you guys our end results, don't we?
Is that what we're waiting for? Is just end results now?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, I'll check my tea cakes. Let me have a little look. Well, I won't be able to pull it out though, but we'll have a look and see what they look like. Okay, here they are. They are not quite ready. I reckon I've probably got another few minutes, but nice browning. I obviously have to turn them around in my oven because this one over here isn't looking as good as that one there. So yeah, but they smell delicious. And yeah, then another 5 minutes. I'll post a picture later on socials and stuff with it after I take it out of the case. I'm going to put them back in.
Mine is also ready. So I've brought it under the light. You can see like that gloss, and it's like sperm, it's a jelly. So I'm just going to remember it's not going to look like the picture. So here's my cake. There. So this here is, you can buy these rolls in the mix shop as well. I find them really handy. So it just comes in a roll and you can wrap it around the sides of your cake. And also these things we also sell in the mix shop. So I love to use those too. Super easy and quick to, rather than having to, you know, grease and flour, you just grease and nothing ever sticks. And then I'm just going to see if I can show you guys my beautiful Torta Caprese. So it might look all right once I've got a piece cut here. So can you guys see that? Got slightly the jelly layer, the ganache, and the cake. So yum.
See, they look really good. It does look good.
It does.
Even like the picture.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at it like this, like not the edges, I reckon they probably put double the amount of jelly because mine does not look as thick as theirs. So I reckon if you're going to make this, I'd do double the amount of raspberry jelly. And I really wish you guys could eat some because I won't be eating any.
Claire, Susan has asked which recipes are on Cookie Dough. I don't think that there's a list, but Becca's typed the answer that if you type type in creating something incredible into the search, you'll be able to find the recipes in which recipes are on there, and they will be releasing another bunch of recipes soon. They're not doing them all at one time, but there will be some recipes that won't be released onto Cookie Do, and they'll just be in the cookbook. But yeah, I'm not a cookbook person. I don't like usually to have one around, but this one is really beautiful because it tells a story as well about the history of Thermomix. It's not just Thermomix in Australia, and it's not just about recipes and stuff. It has some great stories in there too. So yeah, grab yourself a copy.
It's in Cookie Do, in that creating something incredible collection is my recipe, the Torta Caprese, and Kate's, the Caramelised leek and feta tart. There is a Cape Malay curry in Cookie Do, but it's not in the same collection. Is it the same recipe, Elman? It's slightly different. Okay, so if you're searching Cape Malay, it's not the one that Elman did today.
It's slightly different, but it's still an amazing flavor as well. So you can use either of those to get that done. Yeah.
And Sandra, I'm just going to bring you back. I've left you out there. But with your recipe, because it's not on Cookie Do under this cookbook, do you know where you can find it or something similar?
Yes, so it's the recipe is practically identical. It's called Chilli Mussels with thyme and tomatoes. The only difference is that risoni, really, where you just pop the risoni at the end whilst you're steaming the mussels, and it's 100 grams of risoni.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we waiting for Kate's as well to finish?
Yeah, Kate, has yours come out yet?
It hasn't come out yet. It probably needs another 5 minutes, but I can show you. It actually smells really, really good.
And I just want to say, when you convert your recipes to Thermomix, you can ask your consultant to help you with that if you don't know how to. And when you put it on Recipe Community, you've got record of it. So you've got it's almost like a filing system for your own recipes in there. So go in there and put it on so we can eat together and taste your lovely recipes.
All right, so here is my half-baked tart. Don't mind my really, really old baking tray that I put it on. It's a little embarrassing, actually. But yeah, it's starting to brown up really nicely. Obviously, it doesn't look like the picture, but I would say that they use really good lighting and professional photographers. So yeah, I can't wait to eat it. It actually smells really good. So definitely jump on Cookie Do and try this one. I'm going to put it back in the oven.
Elman, do you want to show, it's kind of hard to see, but do you want to show yours in the bowl? I know it's still got quite a bit of time left, which we won't be able to see the end result.
All right, no, that's fine. I'll just pop that out. You just have to wait till it cools down a bit before I can take it off.
Yeah, 20 seconds.
It's part of our safety feature, so we just have to be patient in that way. It's for
20 seconds feels like a long time when you're waiting.
Yeah, say because we are so used to saving lots of time and doing something quickly in the Thermomix that you get that. All right, so I'll just pop that down and then you can see, have a look at that. All right, so this is what it looks like, and it's just beautiful and delicious. You can, and if you want to, you can always add a little bit of vegetables in there too. So when I usually make that for me, I'll instead of the basket, I will put the varoma on top and steam some cauliflower and broccoli and then stir them in there because I like to have veggies with my curry. I know it's not traditional necessary, but I love that. All right. So as you can see, it makes quite a lot of sauce. So making your naan bread, dip it in that deliciousness. It's beautiful. It can also be a nice base for a curry, for a pizza if you want to make a pizza. A curry pizza, quite nice. That's it.
Awesome. Well, that's our 5 dishes for you guys. So Elman, Kate and Sandra have got dinner ready. Jody and I have dessert done. So, we love doing virtual classes for you guys because we get to eat all the food. And yeah, we'll look forward to having face-to-face classes again soon, but it is super fun jumping on Zoom with you guys, and a lot less organization on our part too. So yes, we'll hang around for anybody that wants to find out more about joining our team, or if you just have questions and want that one-on-one time. But otherwise, thank you so much, guys, for your time coming along and sharing this with us.